If you ever wanted to butcher a whole beef tenderloin, well, I'm going to show you how it's done. But first, to get started, you have to pick out a knife that you're going to use. There's a lot of different knives to choose from, but there's only a few that I would recommend using. Now, the knife that I like to use is this bone-in knife. It's a little bit flexible. That's a good knife. You can also use a small paring knife or a chef's knife as a last resort. Now this vegetable knife, nope, and tourne knife, don't even think about it. You're going to need a cutting board. Now I'd recommend plastic cutting board. You don't want to use a wood cutting board. And I like to use a sheet pan, so it'll catch all the drippings. And I like to put paper towel down and I put a little bit of water on it. And I do this so then the cutting board doesn't slide around everywhere. We'll hold it nice and secure. Now next we're going to open the beef tenderloin. We'll take a paring knife, we'll cut the plastic, and we'll pull the beef tenderloin out. Once we have it removed, we'll slide it onto the plastic cutting board, and we're going to start removing some of the fat towards the front. Start cutting away at it, making small little cuts, and pull it away. And just peel it as you pull the fat away. Now we're trying to remove this piece called the chain. Now this piece right here, there's still a lot of good steak tips in that piece, but we're going to cut it away and set it aside for now. Just make small little cuts as you go along. And then towards the front, you want to cut it off before you get to the front of the tenderloin. And then over here, by the small side muscle, there's a little bit more fat. And just dig in there and cut that fat away. Okay, now we can peel away some of this layer that's on top of the tenderloin. Once we have that removed, then we'll take off the silver skin, insert the knife towards the middle of the beef tenderloin, and start working your way towards the front, holding the silver skin. And then once you cut it there, then cut it at the back. Okay, you always want to cut towards the front, never towards the tail of the tenderloin. Insert the knife, work its way towards the front, try and keep the blade up against the silver skin. This way you don't lose too much of the meat. And you'll notice that towards the front of the tenderloin that the silver skin starts to dive down deep into the muscle. You just have to very lightly go after it with the knife, make a few cuts, and get as best as you can. You want to get out as much of that silver skin as possible. If you leave the silver skin on the beef tenderloin and you cook a steak, you're going to notice that the silver skin is extremely tough to chew, so you definitely want to take that out. So flip over the beef tenderloin, and then on the back here there's another little piece of silver skin. Remove that. Okay, and then we'll take off some of the fat. Okay, we'll flip the tenderloin around and we'll start cutting out the fat. There's usually a lot up front here. Just make some small little cuts and take it out. And on the bottom of the tenderloin, there's some fat on the surface here that I like to remove. If you're going to roast the whole tenderloin, sometimes you can leave it on because it'll just render off. But if you're going to cut it into steaks, it's usually best to remove it. You don't have to get it all off, but get as much off as you can. Or sometimes people will take the fat, if they're going to roast the whole beef tenderloin, and they'll actually lay it on top of the beef tenderloin so it renders as it cooks onto the beef tenderloin. And then when it's done cooking, you can just remove whatever's left over. Okay, there we go. Have it all trimmed up. Now we can cut it into steaks. Now if you're going to roast it, just turn the tail in and try to make it even on both sides. Or if you're going to cut it into steaks, I like to take off this larger muscle piece. Just cut straight down, and normally I'll make this into 2 fillets. I'll usually cut that in half. I'm going to leave it large for now. And then I'll end up cutting my steaks starting towards the front of the beef tenderloin. And then we'll cut another steak. And right there, the rest I'm going to end up roasting. So I'll just turn the tail in, and that'll make a nice beef tenderloin roast. Now the chain, don't forget about the chain. There's a lot of fat on this chain, a lot of silver skin, connective tissue, and everything. And do your best to try and take the fat off, try to take the silver skin off. And honestly, this will make really good steak tips, so don't just throw this away. Okay, there we go. We have that all cleaned, and then we'll cut it into steak tips. And then if you're not going to eat the steak right away, I like to take plastic wrap and wrap up the steak tips or the fillets that I've cut. I like to double wrap them. And then once I have them double wrapped, usually I'll end up putting them into a freezer bag and pop them in the freezer until I need them. Thanks for watching my video, and if you enjoyed it, think about subscribing to my YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on all my future videos, and leave a comment about what you liked or what you didn't like. Thanks again for watching.